This is David Osteen, pastor of Hope Bible Church in Locust Grove, Georgia, and I want to deal with a question I received by email concerning alcohol. Should a believer drink alcohol in moderation, just a little, or is total abstinence the right position? What does the Bible say about alcohol? And of course, the Bible has quite a bit to say about this topic, and we couldn't possibly cover it all in a brief video like this. But let me say that after looking at the verses on it and considering it, my position is total abstinence is the wisest position to take. Proverbs 20 verse 1 says, "Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise." Now we know that the Bible condemns drunkenness. Paul said, "Be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit," Ephesians 5:18. And that, along with other verses, make it clear it's a sin to be drunk. And whenever you go through the Bible and come across passages where people are drunk, you see it's always associated with sin and evil and problems, heartache. The first mention is in Genesis 9 with Noah getting drunk after the flood, and of course terrible things happened in that context. You go over to Genesis 19, I believe is the next mention, another horrible situation there associated with drinking wine. Proverbs 20 verse 1 gives you 3 good reasons not to drink. Wine's a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. Why would you want to mess with something like that? Why would you want to even mess around whatsoever with something that is a mocker, that is raging, and that is a deceiver? And many people have been deceived into thinking they can take just a little wine, they can handle it, and they turn into a drunk. You'll never be a drunk if you don't drink at all. Total abstinence, I believe, is the wisest position. And when you study all the Bible has to say on this topic, I think you'll come to that conclusion. Proverbs 23, it says concerning alcohol, verse 29, "Who hath woe?" And there's like 13 things mentioned in this passage of terrible consequences to drinking. "Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine." And some would say, see, this is just condemning drunkenness. It's saying don't tarry long, so just tarry a little while, just not long. Well, you'll never have to deal with the consequences of drunkenness if you don't drink at all. Notice what he says in verse 31. "Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright." That's the fermentation. Alcoholic wine, don't even look at it. You would be wise to stay completely away from it. It says, "At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder." See, that's the deception. You know, you see these stupid commercials where people are drinking and having a great time. They never show commercials about somebody killing a family because of drunk driving or destroying their body because of drunkenness and drinking. They never show broken homes and abusive husbands and on it goes, all the horrible things associated with alcohol. I've seen firsthand terrible things that happen in people's lives when they mess around with alcohol. That's why I think that any pastor that stands up and says, "You know what, it's okay to drink, go ahead, just don't get drunk now, but it's okay," I think that pastor is being foolish, because there are going to be people that hear that, it gives them the green light, and so many people that just try to drink a little bit can't handle it, and it leads them into bondage. It leads them into becoming a drunkard. And alcohol is also a bridge to other forms of substance abuse. It's dangerous. I mean, look, "At the last it biteth like a serpent." At the last, the Bible said, sin when it is finished, it bringeth forth death. It says in James 1. You know, a lot of time people think, well, I haven't dealt with the consequences yet. It's not been too bad yet. But you're headed to some real problems. You're headed to destruction if you mess around with something like this. Would you say that it would be okay to play with a deadly serpent in moderation? So, well, I just handle the rattlesnake in moderation. You know, you shouldn't handle the rattlesnake at all if you have any sense. And I'm going to say this: I think that if you are wise, you won't drink at all. Why take the chance? Why play games with something this deadly? At the last it biteth like a serpent, stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women. How much adultery has been associated with alcohol? And thine heart shall utter perverse things. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down the midst of the sea. Boy, it makes me feel real good. No, it makes you sick. And see, that's the deception, though. They may feel good at first, but then it leads to some horrible feelings and some horrible consequences. Or as he that lieth on top of a mast, they have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. It dulls the senses, it impairs the judgment, it just opens the door to all manner of horrible things. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. Brings you into bondage. After all these horrible things, and yet people keep doing it because they're in bondage. Now, there are those who will say, well, under the law, in Deuteronomy 14, verse 26, there's a reference where it permits a man to drink strong drink. And they take that to mean that it's okay, let's go ahead and do it then. Well, under the law in Deuteronomy 21, verse 15, it says, if a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, and so on. I won't read the whole passage, but it's talking about issues concerning the firstborn. But the law here does not forbid a man having two wives. Now, it didn't say he should, but it did not say he cannot. And of course, it was God's will in the beginning, one man, one woman joined together for life. God never commended polygamy. God's will. Paul said the bishop is to be the husband of one wife, and he's to be the example. And so we understand that God's will is one man and one woman. That's marriage. And yet under the law, and I'm not even going to open this can of worms and get into all this, but it's clear that it wasn't a sin. A man wasn't forbidden to have more than one wife. So just because the law doesn't forbid a man to drink strong drink, and it doesn't say you must totally abstain, you shouldn't take that to mean that it's a good thing and it's okay and whatever. You know, there are some who act like being under grace is a lower standard of living. But the Bible said the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. Titus 2, it says in verse 11, it goes on in the next several verses there, it says that the grace that bringeth salvation, it teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. Well, I think wanting to drink alcohol is a worldly lust. You ought to stay away from that. And grace is not liberty to sin, it's liberty from sin. It's the enablement from the Spirit of God to walk in a way that pleases God as we walk in the Spirit. It's not a lower standard at all. There are those who act like, under grace because God doesn't spell everything out in great detail, that we just have the liberty to do whatever we want to do. But Paul said, use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh. That's not what liberty's about. And Paul said, make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof, Romans 13:14. So if you drink, you're making provision for the flesh. You're feeding the flesh. And there's a possibility that you'll become a drunk. So again, the wise position is to stay away from it altogether. Paul said in Philippians 1, he prayed that our love would abound more and more in all knowledge and judgment, He said that we may approve the things that are excellent. We need to not only discern good from evil, but what's excellent, what's the best way. And total abstinence is obviously the best way. That's the excellent way regarding this matter. Paul talked about in dealing with the bishop and the deacon, he said not given to wine. And some have taken that to mean, see, it's okay, just don't be given to it. Titus 1:7, not given to wine, but the same verse says not given to filthy lucre. So does that mean it's okay to just go after a little bit of filthy lucre? I don't think the point there Paul was making that is that you can drink in moderation. That wasn't the point at all. He told Timothy, who was a bishop, use a little wine for thy stomach's sake, and thine often infirm. So he didn't forbid it because it was used for medicinal purposes at that time. He said use a little wine. He didn't say drink. He said use for thy stomach's sake and thine often infirmities. So that's not a green light to be a drinker, not at all. Let me finish up with this. There's much more we could talk about, but time is running out. Paul gives us principles that if we'll follow, we'll know how to make the right decisions on matters. Again, we're not under the law where everything is spelled out in great detail. We have the spirit of adoption. We're not like children under tutors and governors, as it says in Galatians 4. God does give us liberty to make decisions, but there are principles that ought to govern our decision making. In 1 Corinthians 6, verse number 12, we need to ask ourselves some questions. And I do have a message here on YouTube on guiding principles, in which I cover these verses. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 12, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought into the power of any. Well, you might say, well, it's lawful. It's lawful. You can drink. It's not a sin. You might try to say all that, but is it expedient? Is it expedient in your Christian growth, your spiritual growth and Christian testimony? No, it's not. It's a hindrance. It's a problem. It's not helpful at all. Can it bring me into bondage? He said, I'll not be brought into the power of any. Alcohol is an addictive thing. You can easily be brought under the power of it. Why even mess around with it? Will it be a stumbling block to others? 1 Corinthians 8, verse 9. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. I think that drinking alcohol is a stumbling block to others. They don't know that you're not a drunkard. They seeing you do it might give them the green light to do it, and they become a drunkard. You see, that's a problem. Romans 14:21, it is good neither to eat flesh nor to drink wine, nor anything whereby thy brother stumbleth or is offended or is made weak. Is it spiritually edifying? He said, all things are lawful to me, but not everything edifies. 1 Corinthians 10:23, I kind of paraphrase that. Here it is. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. How can you say drinking alcohol edifies spiritually? It does not. Not you or anybody else. Does it glorify God? Here's a big one. Whether therefore you eat or drink, or whatsoever you do all the glory of God. Looking at all the things the Bible says against alcohol and the warnings, how can you drink to the glory of God? I know I can't. I know I could not do that. I don't believe it glorifies God at all. And so on it goes. It says 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 22, abstain from all appearance of evil. Guard your Christian testimony. It's a poor testimony to mess around with alcohol. Somebody would use Colossians 2:16, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, but it says to respect the holy day, new moon, Sabbath days. It's talking about issues concerning the law. Paul's not saying in that verse it's okay to drink. You're really out of context if you try to take it that way. Well, our time is up. I just think when you look at all of it together, you'll see the wise position is to stay away from it. It's a serpent. Don't even mess with it. That's the wise position to take. There's more I could say, but our time is up. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.